now.
Good evening. How much for how long? Governor Inslee wants answers about a radioactive leak at Hanford.
They are the strongest words yet from the new governor and the strongest in years, directed at the Department of Energy and contractors at the nuclear reservation. King 5 environmental specialist Gary Chittum is live in Richland, where the heat has been turned up and turned up big time. Gary.
Lori and Dennis, you can feel the heat all the way from Olympia right now. First of all, though, let's make very clear that the Department of Energy and the state say there is no risk to human health because of what is happening inside here. However, the governor made it very clear today. He is upset. He's not going to tolerate what's happening right here. He directed his message directly to the Department of Energy. He is unhappy that there's a tank with 500,000 gallons of highly toxic radioactive materials leaking at Hanford. Hanford Tea Farm. No activity could be seen in the nuclear waste farm today above ground, but an apparent underground leak set off a reaction today in Olympia.
There's some suggestion that this leak has been going on for years rather than weeks.
Suspected leaks at Hanford are nothing new. Over the last 70 years, there have been as many as 69 of them. Tank T111 was first deemed a possible leaker in the 1970s and has been heavily monitored since then. Contractors say they noticed a drop in the level of the underground tank that indicates a loss at a rate of up to 300 gallons a year. That heavily radioactive material can and has in other cases migrated to the groundwater below. That presents a clear threat to the nearby Columbia River, which tank farm officials say so far has not happened, even though there have been so many suspected leaks.
The fact that we've experienced leaks before should not, in my view, be any excuse or license to get out of jail for the federal government, given the depth of this responsibility.
T111 is a first-generation tank built in the mid-1940s, and it holds seriously radioactive leftovers from the production of World War II bombs. It was never designed nor expected to hold up this long. Hanford and contractors have spent years trying to stabilize and transfer the waste to newer but still aging double-walled tanks.
This presents a new risk.
And that risk is, if T111, a long-time suspected leaker and re-leaker, and a heavily monitored tank, could be leaking this badly, and perhaps for a very long time, how many others could be at risk? The DOE issued a statement indicating there does not appear to be any obvious signs of contamination around the tank. Monitoring wells in the T-tank farm, where tank T111 is located, have not identified significant changes in concentrations of chemicals or radionuclides in the soil. Okay, well, some equipment doesn't seem to be working properly because one set of equipment is saying that the level is dropping in the tank. The others are saying there's no contamination under or near the tank. It's had to go somewhere. That's what they're going to try out, and it's a very frustrating ordeal to try to get to the bottom of it. Lori and Dennis?
Gary, how will they know if other tanks are leaking?
That, again, is going to be a very complex situation. They have it wired right now, and they've been doing a good job of monitoring this situation, but obviously this calls into play. Maybe they're going to have to go in and then go in one by one and inspect them all, and that will slow down an already bogged down cleanup process here.
All right. Gary Chittum live in Richland. Thank you.
Environmental watchdog groups applaud the governor's tough stance, but they want more. They want action now before the situation gets worse. King 5's Natalie Swaby is live with a reaction to today's announcement. Natalie.
Well, the executive director of Hanford Challenge, a group with a mission to protect the environment and the public's health, says there's a need now for new double shell tanks to be built to store waste from confirmed leaking tanks. That's just one of the things we discussed after the news broke.
We've got 177 tanks.
Tom Carpenter has spent 3 decades charting Hanford's troubles.
Here's the river. The river goes down to the ocean. We're connected to the ocean. So Hanford's radiation has ended up in the ocean and has washed up on Seattle shores in the past.
From his Seattle office, he pumps out the press releases.
We work with whistleblowers out there. We go to all the public meetings. We look at the environmental issues. So we pay very, very close attention to what's going on at Hanford night and day.
And today, he's working overtime after this announcement from Governor Jay Inslee.
There is newly leaking single-shell tanks at the Hanford site.
It spotlights again the mess we're in at the Hanford site. This is the worst contaminated facility in the United States.
The new report highlights an old problem, leaking tanks.
Oh, if this were 300 gallons a year at City Hall, it would be a huge deal. This is a lot of nuclear waste. We're talking waste that's dangerous in microscopic quantities, very, very tiny amounts.
Carpenter wants action now.
Under the law, this tank needs to be pumped and emptied to protect the groundwater.
His watchdog group is anxiously waiting to see Hanford's next move.
And tonight, State Senator Sharon Brown, she represents the district in which Hanford resides, and she says this is a wake-up call. She says there's a need for more resources at the Hanford facility, and she adds the state must work with the federal government to make cleanup at the site a high priority. Reporting live, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
Thank you, Natalie, and stay with King 5 News for the latest on the Hanford radioactive leak. You can also get updates online at king5.com or follow us on Twitter at King5 Seattle.